I'm Dr. Lock. So like most of us who are getting into the key automotive industry and a lot of people who duplicate car keys, this new transponder thing, which has actually been out for, 23 years or so, can be a bit daunting for a lot of us. And you might be like me and you might have bought this machine, that machine, and you're not sure what's new or you're not sure what can do what. And this video is designed to kind of help you do that. What we're going to do is we're going to go over all the key cloning machines which are on screen, go through some of their pros and cons, so that way you can sort of make a decision on where you're going to invest your money and decide which one you're going to invest in, so you can get most return for your dollar and get the best bang for your buck. Sometimes, and there's been a lot of machines I bought along the way that have just been used once or twice and sit in a drawer. And by being able to identify what you can use what machine for, or which one suits your needs, might save you a lot of money in the future. Because like one of the ones there, the RW4 Plus, that's one that I bought, which was very expensive. Same with the CN900, bought that too. The same with the VVDI when that first came out, bought that too. We bought the Tango. We've got the VVDI Key Tool Max. We've got the KEYDIY one as well. So we're going to go all over these. Now this is about a key cloning machine. So we're looking at this and comparing these machines, looking through the glasses of looking for a machine that clones keys. A lot of these machines do extra functions, so we're going to also note them down, because that way it'll give you a good indication of how much power the machine has. But we're looking at these machines from that point of view. So this is not every key machine that's out there, every key cloning machine that's out there on the market. This is just a top list of the top few that are well recognized and sold everywhere. Okay, just before we get started, we're not sponsored by YouTube, but we're going to give them a plug anyway. YouTube Premium, it's like $11.90 per month. You get music and you get to watch all your YouTube videos without any ads. We will have ads in this, everybody does. If you hate ads, I hate ads, just pay the $11. You get the best stuff and you don't get interrupted all the time. So rather than complain to me about it having ads, don't be a tight ass and get the 1 month free trial, and $11 per month you get to enjoy YouTube. We all enjoy YouTube. Give them a little bit of love back and it'll save you having to watch all those ads. VVDI key tool. So we're going to ask the same questions when we go through all the different machines. And we'll start off with some of the basic questions like price. For this tool now, it's coming in at $230, which is extremely cheap for the functions that it has. Easy to use, I'm going to go yes, because you've got 4 arrows, a yes and a no, and a place to put the chip and a little antenna sticking off the front. It's not complicated, it boots up quite easily and is easy to use. Screen is 2.4. I know that's not as big as a smartphone, but it's a reasonable size. If you've got reasonable vision, you'll have no troubles using it. It's not too small where everything's complicated. It's enough screen to kind of get the job done. On-screen instructions, it tells you what to do next. It walks you through, so as far as that's concerned, it's nice and easy. It does all of the standard chips. There will probably be some chips in the future that, who knows whether or not it can do it or not, but it does all the standard chips, just the same as all the other machines. So 46s, 48, 4D, 4C, all that sort of stuff. It doesn't do Mercedes. It does have their little infrared tester, if you can see it right about here. That is infrared tester, but it doesn't actually clone Mercedes like one of the other or two of the other machines do. Does it communicate with the key machine? No. As some of the new VVDI products actually do, they integrate with the key machines like the Dolphin. This particular one, from what I've seen, can't. It has no onboard OBD programming tools, so you can't just buy the little dongle and start programming OBD, immobilizer systems via OBD. Does it use an app? Yeah, it does. It does have an app. You can use that app for downloads and all other type of things. It does connect with the app, so that is a bit of a bonus if you want a bigger screen and more information and do some of the more advanced functions. It does sniff data. It's got the little antenna. It's coming out the top there, so that means it's an all-in-one type of unit, as where it's not a separate device as some of the other machines use to sniff data. So you simply place that little antenna near the ignition and you can sniff data for 46 and 48s. Does it have a super chip? Yeah, it does. It has a super chip that are reasonably priced. I think they're coming in about $5, and that does the majority of your cloning. So you would use that super chip all the time. You'd use it to generate, and you'd also use it just to simply clone. So yeah, it does have its own smart chip that does the majority of things. Does it use internet? Yes, it does. There is times when you will need to open up the app and use the internet. On certain chips, you do need internet to decipher them, and in the future, I believe this is what we're going to see more of. So yeah, it does use internet. Many times I've gone to use this machine and it needed like an update. So yeah, I'll say yes, it does. But on a regular basis, for a lot of the general things, no, you won't be needing internet for that. Does it have the option for online tasks? And yes, it does. Does it generate chips? Yes, it does. So if you've got a car and you need to generate a particular format on a particular chip, you can do that. Does it generate car remotes? And yes, it does. So you can plug in the bottom with that PS2 cable, put a blank remote there and tell it what remote you want it to be. Does it generate garage remotes? And yes, it does. We don't use that a lot, but it's a handy feature for other people who wish to use it. Does it renew used car remotes? And yes, it does. That's a big one because there's a lot of money to be saved there. If you can get an old smart key and unlock it and reuse it, that's going to save you a lot of money compared with buying original, and it'll also give you a backup if you can't get an original. Does it copy access cards? And yes, it does. I have not tested that feature, but it's said too that it can actually copy some access cards as well. Does it test frequencies? Yes, it does. It has a frequency counter inside, so that's all good compared with some other machines that use a separate device to test frequencies. Does it find the chip needed? Yes, it does. I have done that in one of the other videos where you put the antenna near the coil of the ignition and it'll actually display what chip it's looking for. Very handy when you're on the borderline between two different models, which might be one chip or it might be the other chip. Does this tool have room to grow? And I'm going to say no on this because it's a superseded tool, so they kind of stopped making it, stopped selling it, so most likely they're not going to be growing this tool anymore. Although yes, it does have updates which are available. I'm not sure exactly what's included in with the updates, probably just fixing bugs, but probably not expanding on the range. The size and comfort for this machine is really good. It fits into your hand just like a mobile phone. It's thick so you won't kind of drop it or let it go. It's made of plastic, it's quite rugged. Everything seems solid about it. It's got a good feel and it's not too fragile. So yeah, size and comfort is good. Okay, let's move on to the next one. 884 Decryptor Mini. Okay, price isn't too bad, coming in at $350 so US dollars, so it's a pretty handy tool for that. I mean, the price is right. Easy to use, yes. You do get a lot of documentation. Keyline is a big brand. They do have a lot of literature and a lot of online tutorials and the app as well. So fairly easy to use. It kind of walks you through. Screen, we're going to go for no. That should be a little red no. Doesn't have a screen on it, only has 4 red dots. On saying that, the app does most of all the difficult sort of stuff. Well, it does everything. You need the app to drive it. On-screen instructions, as I said before, the app. So you do need the app to open up. You need this machine, then you need the app. Does it come with does it do all the standard type of chips? Well, it does. Once again, once you've got the app and all the rest, you can clone just about anything that can be cloned, just like any other machine. So yeah, it does have a wide coverage. Does it do Mercedes? No. Does it communicate with the key machine? No. So if you had a key machine, it's not going to talk backwards and forwards at all or send any data. Does the tool do any OBD programming? No. It's purely just a standalone key cloner, so we'll give it a no there. Does it use an app? Yes. The app, as I said before, you need that to do some of the more complicated tasks. You need that to do just about any task on this thing. So that's, the app and the machine power. Does it sniff data? Yes, it does, but you do need an additional little add-on little chip reading thing that you can put near the ignition. So it doesn't have it as a complete unit built in, all part of the one. It's actually like a little separate device, just like the other Bluetooth device that sits underneath the machine. That's separate as well. Does it have a super chip? Yes, it does. A bit of a downside on that is just the price. The few most expensive ones in the market are Silca and Keyline. They are a better quality chip. Don't get me wrong, you won't get any chip fade or anything like that. They are reliable, they work all the time, but they are expensive too. Does it use the internet? Yes, it does. It uses the internet to complete some of the more difficult cloning. Okay, let's go over a few of the other things. Does it have the option for online tasks? Yes. Does it generate chips? So if you need to generate a particular chip for a particular car, yes, you could do that off this as well. Does it generate car remotes? Yes, it does, but they are kind of limited. There's no range like VVDI. They're not the same type of thing. They're a lot more limited in design and range on that. Does it generate garage remotes? No. Does it renew remotes? No. So you can only really use their original Keyline remotes. Copy access cards? No. This is not really the type of machine for copying access cards, but it is a benefit, to have it if it can do it. But no, it doesn't do that. Frequency tester? No. That would be a completely different unit. Doesn't do any frequency testing as far as remote controls, and it also doesn't sniff the ignition to tell you what chip the car is looking for. Okay, that was that one. Does it find the chip that's needed? That should be a no. So I'll just turn that one off because that is a no. You can't put this machine near the ignition coil and it will say what it's looking for. It just won't do that. Does it find the chip needed? Does the tool have the room to grow? And yes, it does. This is their platform. As we've seen before, they brought out this machine and then they wanted to add Bluetooth and other capabilities to it. So they've got like a little base that it sits on, very similar to the RW4 where they just add things to the bottom of it. So it does have room to grow. And does this tool get updates? Yes, it does all the time. Like they update it, you update it, no problem. Size and comfort, I find it fairly complex because you have to have this unit, then you have to have it powered, then you have to have your tablet with power or your smartphone with power connect over to it before you can start cutting or doing any type of key duplication or transponder generation. So I'm going to call it, complex. Machine brought out of China that kind of does it all if you like. What's better about this machine is it only comes in at $150 US, so you get a real lot of bang for your buck on this one. Easy to use, yeah, it sure is. Fits in the palm of your hand. You simply just touch through the menus, direct them through, and away you go. Screen size, I'm saying about 2 inches, but I'm pretty much guessing on that. But as you can see, you get a little screen, good enough to see what you're doing. Screen, does it do all the standard chips? Yes, it does. No troubles there. Can it do Mercedes? No, it can't. Can it communicate to the key machines? No, it can't, because there's no handy baby key machines. Does it do OBD programming? Well, yes, but from what I found out, only from VW. So leave it down in the description if there's more modules that you can plug in via OBD to communicate between the machine and the vehicle. I could only find VW for that one. Does it use an app? Yes, it does, to do some of the more complicated cloning and also to do a few of the other tricky things. Sniff the data? Yes, it can. Sorry, that's a mistake. Yes, it can. It's got the antenna over here. There's no add-on actually needed with that. It's got the inbuilt aerial. Does it have a super chip? Yes, it does, and they're fairly well priced as well. So it's got a super chip that can do just about all your standard type of stuff that you come across on a daily basis, and it's just one chip for everything. Does it use the internet? No. Look, the app uses the internet. Yes, it does, but this little machine does not need the internet to do majority of tasks. If you want to do some of the more difficult tasks, like I believe it's 48, or maybe a few of the more complex things, then yeah, it might need the internet to be tethered off your mobile phone using the app. But on a regular basis, we'll say no. Okay, does it have options for online tasks? Yes, it does. Does it generate chips? Yes, it does. Does it generate car remotes? Yes, it does. Does it generate garage remotes? Well, from what I could find, I'm going to say no. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but I don't believe it does garage remotes as well. Can it renew remotes? Yes, it can. Not as wide a range as the VVDI ones and some of the other ones, but from what I've seen, it does have a cable you can plug in the bottom and do a couple of remotes by actually unlocking them and renewing them. I believe access cards, I believe it can actually do them as well. It's there, I think they call them ID cards, and if you can see on the picture of it, I believe it's that red button there. Test frequencies, yes it can. Find the chip needed, yes it can. It can detect that as well. Does it have room to grow? Well, look at the machine. I mean, you can't really add. If something new came along, it's going to be difficult to add it. Unless it can be added through the app, you probably can't, add it to the machine. Does the tool get updates? It does. It does. They're probably still fixing bugs on it all the time. It's a pretty good platform, and it's very good for what it does. So size and comfort, I'm giving it a big tick as well. Fits in your hand. It's battery powered. It does what it needs to do as far as cloning and generating remotes and generating the chip and all the testing of the frequencies and things. I've seen it as well as the ND900. I believe it's the same tool. So if any of this is incorrect, you can leave your comments down below. It's always good to get other people's opinions just in case we don't hit it right the first time. Okay, on this tool here, $150 US, that's cheap. You can't beat that. You get a lot of bang for your buck once again in a very small unit for $150 US. Easy to use. Look, I'm saying yes because it's touchscreen. You go through, you do what you got to do. I'll get to the downside on that later on. Size of the screen, estimate about 2 inches, and it is a little touchscreen. On-screen instructions, yes, it walks you through, tells you what to do step by step. Instructions could be a little bit better, but it does have instructions. Does it come with all the standard chips? Yes, it does. I believe 48 it can't do, or it pretty much does all of the standard ones that you can do. So it's fairly straightforward. You get a lot of bang for your buck. You can do quite a bit with it. Does it do Mercedes? No, it's definitely not going to do Mercedes. Does it communicate with any key machines? No, there's no key machines that are made by the same manufacturer. There's no communications with anything. You can't pass data up or down. Can you do any key programming by Can you do any key programming by OBD? So that's a yes for this. I actually have the dongle, but I've never used it. Apparently you can do like a 4D reset. Because some different areas have different Toyotas, I've always been a bit frightened to plug it in, because it might be made for the US market and not so much for the current Oceania market which I'm in. So I've got it, but I haven't tested it, and it's only for Toyota. Does it use an app? No. There might be an app out there, but I've never found the app, and I've never used the app, and I don't believe it has an app. Can it sniff data? Yes, it can. It's got the antenna on it. I've used it multiple times and it works very well. Being able to go up to the ignition and sniff for that data works good. It does have a super chip. Well, not a good a super chip as some of the other machines, but the super chip, it does have like a multi-chip, and they do cover quite a lot of your common day stuff. So I'm going to say yes, it does have a chip that has a wide range of general cars that it does. Does it use internet? No, it doesn't use internet at all. This machine, when some of my other ones needed updates or have paused up or wouldn't work without me connecting to the internet, I've always picked up this tool as a second or a backup for that fact that it actually just worked. I've had the VVDI a few times trying to clone 46, and I just couldn't do it without plugging it in or putting the app on, going online and then doing an update. I was kind of stuck there. So that's why this tool for me was always a good little backup. Okay, does it have the option for online tasks? No, it doesn't. Generate chips, yeah, you can generate some chips with it. Generate car remotes, no, this doesn't have any other connections. It's a sealed unit, so there's no plugs or anything like that. Garage remotes, once again, you're out of luck. Renewing remotes, you're out of luck. Copying access cards, you're out of luck. Testing frequencies, yes, it does have a frequency tester in it. Did you find the chip needed? I believe you can use a search on it to find what chip is needed from the ignition. Correct me down below if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it did have that function. Does it have room to grow? No, it's pretty much a straightforward tool. You're not going to see any add-ons or anything you can screw in, plug in, and most likely you're not going to see anything apart from a slight alteration to a little bit of the software or fixing a bug. So it won't grow anything more than what it is. Does the tool get updates? Yes, there are updates. You can download it. To date, I've never updated my tool. It just does what it does. So size and comfort, really good, really small, about the size of a mobile phone, if not, a little bit shorter, a little bit thicker, a little bit more stubby. So yeah, easy to fit into your pocket, easy to carry around, easy to put on the bench, very small and easy, compact, battery rechargeable unit. So all in all, not a bad little unit, this one. Just for cloning. Silca RW4. Now I must admit, I bought this machine for a few reasons. I thought it'd be good for the support, it'd be good for the name brand, it'll be good for the quality, it would never fail, it'll be perfect for me. So I went out and I spent about $2,000 to $3,000 on this. Since then the prices have come down. You can pick this up for $1,200 US, which is still a fair bit of cash if you're looking for a machine to do key cloning and generating. Easy to use, yes, it does have a small screen on it, like we're talking an inch by a couple of inches, 2 lines of dot matrix text basically. It does have instructions what to do, simple read, simple write, put this chip in. So on that side of the fence, it's fairly straightforward. On-screen instructions, as we say, fairly straightforward, nothing in depth, 2 lines of text. It does clone all the standard chips. They do have a wide range of clonable transponders that can be cloned using their chips, and that's one of the reasons I kind of got it, is because when it says it can do it, it can do it. It definitely doesn't do Mercedes in any way. It's not that type of machine. As far as communicating with any other key machines, unfortunately not. This is pretty much just a standalone duplicator and generator of transponder chips. OBD key programming, nothing of the sort, nothing at all. Does it use an app? No, but it does use a computer program where you can interact with it. So you actually have to carry your whole computer around with you if you're using this in a mobile setting. On the bench, where the computer's next to it in a locksmithing shop, not so bad. But yeah, no app that I know of. It's a computer program. Correct me down in the comments down below if I'm wrong. Sniffing of data, yes you can. You see that red thing hanging out at the front of it? There's actually 2 of them, and you actually need to put that up against the ignition coil, then take it back to the machine where it will then take the data from that sniffer back. So it's not built in any way. Does it have a super chip? Yes, they have the GTI chips, which does majority of everything. You just can pick up one chip and there you go, it'll do almost everything. The downside to that is it's quite an expensive chip. Does it use the internet? Yes, it does. For some of the more complicated tasks, it does require the internet. And you see that little antenna off the side, that Wi-Fi antenna, that's what that's about. You might notice there's a separate box underneath. What originally happened was they brought the machine out and then they did all these upgrades, so they could just keep slapping things on the bottom of this machine to keep it relevant. All right, let's go through a few more of the questions. Does it have the option for online tasks? Yes. Can it generate chips? Yes, it can. Generate remotes? No. That's another box that cost me another $1,000, which I barely used. And can it generate garage remotes? No. Renew remotes? No. Access cards? Nothing of the sort. Test frequencies? No. Does it find the chip that's needed? No, it doesn't. It does have room to grow. Well, to grow, as I said before, if there's something new and they can do it to this particular platform, they shove it on the bottom, they shove another box on the bottom. If not, they'll include it in with the online software, because a lot of the newer stuff, the more complex stuff, will mostly need computer power to compute, and it won't be actually in the actual device, it's actually online. So yes, it can do that. The machine gets updates, nothing wrong there. As far as size and comfort, it's chunky, it's bulky, it's no good for if you're in a mobile situation. I mean, you can use it, but it's pretty much a counter display, something you mount on a counter. Nothing like the caliber that we've seen of these handheld devices that can do all these other functions. So definitely kind of in a league of its own, a bit of a dinosaur as far as a platform, but yet still very reliable and still one that a lot of people use on a daily basis. Tool, quite a nice little tool, got a lot of bang for its buck, and there's a lot of features that this thing can do which really sort of complements the Automotive Locksmith, because it's a handy little tool, and for what it does and the price, it's very, very interesting and useful. Price comes in at $179 US, which is extremely cheap for what it is compared to some of the other big brand names. Okay, easy to use. Yes, it is. Although it has a small little screen, it's still easy enough to use for what you need to use it for, and that would be chip generation, generating remote control, sniffing data, cloning chips, all of the above type of things. Easy size screen, so it's not even an inch, that little screen, but surprisingly enough, it's got enough information for you to get the job done. This tool is also accompanied with an app, so once you use it with the app, you've got a huge screen. But if you're doing just simple functions on it, that little screen is quite good. It does walk you through. On-screen instructions, yes, it does. Does it do all the standard chips? Yes, it does. So you can copy the 46s, the 48s on it with online, all your general chips, it does. Does it do Mercedes? No, it doesn't. Does it communicate with key machines? No, it doesn't, because KEYDIY don't have any key machines as far as I know. Does the tool do any OBD programming? Not that I know of. They do have an OBD little plug, but that's more of a automatic opening type thing, so you can't actually enroll a remote control that you've generated into the actual vehicle using an OBD plug. There is no OBD plug that I've seen. Does it use an app? Yes, it does. Quite a good app. Very impressed with the app. It talks to you, it walks you through. Everything you need to find by make and model is all very clearly in front of you. So the app is actually quite interactive and a good app. So I like that. Does it sniff data? Yes, it does. It has that little antenna on the top there. So once again, for your 46s and things, you can put it near the ignition coil. Does it have a super chip? Yes, it does. The chips are quite reasonably priced. They're on the cheaper side of things compared to Silca or Keyline. So the actual chip it has is one of those multi-function chips that do the majority of cars. Not all of them, but your common ones that are going to come over the bench all the time. And it does that with a single super chip that you can, you'd be using that most of the time, and that'd be the chip that you buy a whole heap of, because it'd be the chip that everybody kind of uses, and it can do multiple formats. So yes, it has a super chip. Does it use internet? No, it doesn't use internet to do the general standard functions. Like if you wanted to generate a remote, no, it doesn't kind of use. Actually, it might, because it's going through the app, and the app has the internet. For a lot of the smaller functions, no, but yet it does use internet for some of the 48s and some of the more complex tasks. But as a standalone machine, no, it's not using internet to do the common processes. I think that's what I'm trying to get at there. Does it have the option for online tasks? Yes, it does. Does it generate chips? Yes, it does. So if you've got a car that needs a particular type of 46 or a particular format on that chip, then yeah, you can do that. Does it generate car remotes? Yes, it does. That's one of the things that it exceeds in, because it's got such a wide range of remotes in its on its app that you can generate. So a wide range makes it more of a useful tool. As where I've looked at the Silca Silca S remote, SR something, which was an expensive box from Silca that just did the remote generation, no cloning, and that actual device was limited. Like, I've looked at the KEYDIY range and find it quite extensive. That's one of the reasons why we have it in the truck, is because the wide range of remotes that it can generate, just like KEYDIY. Does it generate garage remotes? Yes, it can. Some of the fixed code ones, not so much the rolling codes one, but yeah, you can do some remotes for the garage on it as well, which is quite handy. Does it reuse remotes? Well, yes, but only some of the smart ones. As with the VVDI, had all these cradles to renew a whole range of them. This one I found it only does a certain range of a couple of the smart ones. It can also copy access cards too, some of them. I'm not sure how intensive the range is, but it can do some of the common ones or the generic ones or the simple ones without the high encryption. So it can do some cards. Testing frequencies, yes, it does. It has that antenna. And does it find the chip? I believe it does. It's not a function I've used heavily on this machine. I've used it more on the VVDI key tool, but yes, from what I understand, it actually does have that. If I've made that mistake, leave it down in the comments below, but I'm pretty sure it does actually do the detecting of what chip you need. Does it have room to grow? No. This is my opinion. When I look at the tool, I say, well, you know, it's a fixed unit. It's not really got room for expansion like an Android device where you could add things to it. It's pretty much you get what you get and you don't get upset. It's all there. The app can always add things, but whether or not this machine can handle anything new would be, you know, I would say probably not. It does get updates as well, so you can keep your tool updated. If they do find something extra or a new car they can add to it, then that, yeah, you can update the software, and that will then allow this machine to be able to do that. But as far as the previous question, room to grow, like a new platform or a new strange frequency and things, then I would say no, probably doesn't have room to grow. But honestly, with a tool like this, for that price, do you really need it to grow too much more anyway? Because it's going to do a lot of what you need it to do for the price. Like, if there is a strange new format or a strange new chip that comes out that needs a special type of coil or detector or hardware to do it, it'd probably be something you'd buy a separate machine for anyway, just like the 46s were when they came out. Size and comfort, I'm going to give it a small and good. Look, you can put it in your pocket. It's fairly rugged in the case. As far as being in your hand, it nicely fits in your hand, not, you know, too big where you're going to drop it. So yes, I would say small and good for that. Moving on. VVDI Key Tool Mini. So this is once again another powerful little product which comes in extremely cheap. And one of the things you can notice about this tool compared to the last tool is they look almost identical. You've got the same type of setup with the same type of screen doing the same type of way that it does things. And they're both kind of brother to another mother sort of thing. They're not friends, they're in competition, and you can see that clearly with the price. I mean, $129 for this tool is very competitive to the last tool we saw. It's easy to use, straightforward. You've got the app, once again a great app, very interactive app that outlines everything, walks you through everything. The screen size, again, I'm going to go for 0.91 of an inch, which was the size of the last one. This might be a little bit smaller, but to be honest, I don't know exactly what size, I couldn't find it, but it's small. So that's, you know, we'll go with 0.91. On-screen instructions, now for this one here, all I saw was battery power and Bluetooth connection and the actual software version. I couldn't see it going place this or do this on it, so as far as I know, no, it doesn't have the on-screen instructions. It's all all the instructions are given to you via the app. I mean, if that's not true, leave it down in the comments. It does all the standard chips, no problems there. It's everything you need it to be. Majority of stuff straight off the bench. Does it clone Mercedes? No, it's not going to do that. Does it communicate with key machines? Well, no, this actual device doesn't, but the app does. So if you've got a VVDI key machine, you'll be able to do it via the app, not this actual tool. Does it program via OBD? No, it doesn't. I'm saying that the app can with various other options, but we're looking at this just as a cloning machine. Can I plug a cable in the bottom of it and plug it into an OBD? No, you can't. Does it use an app? Yes, very good app. Very good app, walks you through, tells you everything, even talks to you. So yeah, I was impressed with the app. Does it sniff data? Yes, it does. It has that antenna on top, so it can do the 46s and, you know, checking frequencies and checking what chip is needed. Does it have a super chip? Yes, it does. Once again, it's the chip that you would use for everything. They have, I think, 1 or 2 of those type of chips which are used for just about all the cars that you normally do, except for the real rare ones or non-common ones. So they have a super chip. This particular device does not use the internet as a standalone, like as a normal machine. It does use the internet via the app, but so for some of the more complex tasks, you will, you know, kind of use it via the via that. It has the option for online tasks, which goes into what I just spoke about. So that online task lets you do some of the more complicated stuff of working out the codes and other chips which are hard to generate. It does generate chips, so if you've got a particular car and you need a particular chip in a particular format, yes, you can select it via that, and this machine can push that through to the chip, and you would do that via the app. It does generate car remotes, and this is one of the things that it exceeds in. It does generate a lot of, I think it's up to 2,000 different car remotes. So comparing that to the Silca remote generator, it's far in front. And also the KEYDIY, these two teams are both neck to neck, and they're the ones with the most amount of range. So yeah, very good on the car remote. Can do some garage remotes, once again non-rolling codes. You can do some of the simple gate openers and things, so that's another little function to give your customers. It can renew remotes. There is a whole kit which I've seen used on the other later tools, but yeah, apparently they have the same plug on this, and you can use that, and you can do it through the app as well. So yes, you can renew remotes, and not just Toyota remotes like the VVDI, like the KEYDIY one. This one apparently has a whole range of, I think, about 12 different types of remotes that it can renew. So access cards, it can, once again, I'd be saying it would be the very simple access cards. You had 125 kilohertz, the simplest ones with very low encryption or no encryption. Yes, you should be able to copy some of those. It's got the antenna so it can test your frequencies. On the front you can even see it has the little RF symbol on the front of it, so you just place a remote on the front, push the button, and it'll give you a reading to see if the remote was functioning or not. So frequency tester, yes, it does. It can find the chip which is needed. Once again, that would be done through the app as well, because as you see, there's no screen and there's no buttons to go around there. So yes, it can. You put it up against a coil, ignition coil, put a key in there, and it'll tell you what chip it's actually looking for. I'm going to say no, the tool doesn't have much room to grow. Reason being, if you look at it, I couldn't imagine them squeezing too much onto it. On saying that, they do have the cable underneath it, but generally speaking, the tool is what it is, and it does what it does. Updates are available for this particular tool, so if there is something, a new car added or a different combination or encryption to generate, then they would add that in an update. So they still are updating this tool. It's still a good tool. Another good reason to like this tool is just the size and the comfort. It's got the ribbing where you put your hand around the machine, it fits quite nicely. It's got the ribbing so you're not dropping it. It fits quite nicely in your palm of your hand, and also in your pocket as well. So when you're doing a job, you just go up to the car, pull it out. So it works quite well. So definitely a big competition between this tool and the last one we saw, and definitely a very powerful little tool for the price that it is, as far as what it does and how it does it. It's the big boys in town, and this is the Xhorse VVDI Key Tool Plus. This is one of the newest machines, and to be honest with you, when I first saw this machine, I just wanted to go out there and buy it, regardless that I already had multiple key programmers sitting around on the bench and not getting used, which do a lot of the same sort of functions. I was looking at the tool and thinking, okay, this looks interesting. Then I watched the video on it, and then I did a bit more research about it. But for a tool, it's a very interesting tool. First thing you're going to notice is the price. It comes in at $2,500 US plus shipping plus tax. That's a lot of money compared to what we've been looking at. The middle of the range, $400 to $500, some of the cheaper ones down at $100 to $200. So it's a big jump up in what we're talking about here, mainly because if you can see the amount of electronics that are involved here. This is a tablet with built-in antennas and all the rest around it. It's easy to use because all the information's on screen. When I watched a video about this, they described it as a all-in-one machine, as where a lot of the other type of machines you had to do this on one and do that on the other. So that's an all-in-one machine. So it's going to be easier, especially when you're new to car programming and chip generation. It's probably going to be a little bit easier because the larger screen, in-depth menu, in-depth instructions, and also the walkthrough process from basically one side to the other. And that's what they've designed it as. That's why easy to use, yeah, definitely. Screen size is 10.1 inch, so that's as big as a tablet. There's no two ways about it, so it is a tablet. On-screen instructions, yes, walks you through everything. It can clone all the standard chips. It's the most powerful sort of tool on the Xhorse VVDI key tool programming range that I've seen to date. And yeah, all the standard chips and some. Can it do Mercedes? Yes, it can. It's even got an infrared port at the back of it, so you can actually clone Mercedes keys. So this machine, all in one, is more powerful than their other versions of key cloning machines. It communicates with the key machines. Yes, it does. Just like the Key Tool Max that we've been looking at this week, it definitely communicates with the machine. So everything is from the one tablet, one screen. So you're not powering up multiple devices. It is compatible with the the OBD Mini. So you can plug that in and you can do OBD programming. One more thing to touch with the OBD programming. This machine does have an inbuilt OBD programming section. So if you compare it like that, you're not only just getting a cloning machine, you're also getting an OBD key programming machine in the one. On top of that, it's got everything you would want to complete the job, compared with the others that didn't have all that. As far as the app, yes, it does use the app, but the app is on screen. As soon as you power it up, you're already into the app. So you're not using your phone to tether off this or that. Well, you might need your phone to tether the internet off it. I'm not too sure if it has a SIM card in it, and you would need Wi-Fi if you're out on the field or doing a car. So yeah, it does need Wi-Fi. Sniffing of the data. Now, this particular question here, I did read through a lot of the information, and it says chip pin detection, but I'm pretty sure it can do it. If some of the smaller machines can do it, this machine would have that function in there, so it should be able to detect the chip that it needs. It does have a super chip, same as the other Xhorse VVDI, one chip that can do multiple different common cars, so it does have that. Use internet, yes it does definitely need the internet. One of the things I read up about this was that it uses the internet a lot more than any other tool. So for some of the more I guess it's because it can do some of the more complex tasks and do some of the higher end cars. All right, let's go through this one. Does it have the option for online tasks? Yes, it certainly does. Chip generation? Yes, it certainly does. Car remotes? Yes, it can. Garage remotes? Yes, it can. Can it reuse the remotes? Yes, it can. Xhorse VVDI have the 12 pack, I think, of car remote renewable cradles, and that allows you to get a second-hand remote and renew it. So yes, that's compatible with that as well. And VVDI is one of the ones that have the most cradles that I've seen yet, as far as key cloners. Access control card, yes it can. Test frequencies, yes it can. Does it find the chip needed? Yes it can. Does it have room to grow? Yes it does. And the reason being is because this is a tablet. This is a computer, so if you want to add something to the computer, it's going to be a lot easier than some of those other key programmers that we've been looking at, which have a fixed amount of memory, a fixed amount of how would you say, CPU sort of processing. All of that is fixed, as where this is the big kahuna. This is the most expensive one, so it's probably got a little bit extra in there. Not only that, it's got the camera, the torch, and all that sort of stuff. So this is a tablet, so yeah, definitely have more room to grow. Updates, yes, you can get them. Size and comfortability, look, it's a big screen. It's easy to see if your eyes are getting a bit weak or whatever. It's easy to see if you want to read from the screen in big format compared to using your phone. So it's got a bit of a rubbery feel to around the outside. So it is chunky. I mean, I gave it a green tick for big screen, but the truth is it is a tablet, so you're going to need to treat this with extra care compared to your other programmers you could put in your pocket or just put on a shelf. This one here has a screen, and if you crack that screen, it's not going to look too good or work too good. So it's a bit of a 50-50 whether or not that's an asset or is it a pro or is it a con. So I say it's right in the middle, but I'll give it a green tick anyway. So that's the Xhorse VVDI key tool. Let me just read a few of the things it's got, because we are looking for which key cloning tool is best for you. So we got transponder detection, cloning, generation, remote cloning, remote generation, frequency detection, remote renew, IC ID clone, so that's like your swipe card, vehicle error light reset, key cutting machine control, OBD built in, radio frequency simulator. So when we're talking about can it sniff radio frequencies or test them before, this goes a step further to actually simulate a radio frequency. So that way you don't have to generate it on a remote and then try it. You can actually simulate it. So there's a big thing. Infrared key coil detection. So that's something what a few of the others definitely didn't have. The Mercedes-Benz infrared stuff, it has. That's something that definitely the other ones don't have. Smart key program, Toyota smart key programming, long distance immobilizer collection. So that's an interesting sort of what that's doing there. Chip pin detection. So that's most likely talking about the Hyundais where you can get the login pin from the chip. And it also has more functions on top of that as well. So you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. It's got 4 gigs of memory, 4G plus storage, 128 gig, and it's got a 4 times Core-X A53 up to 1.8 gigahertz. So that's definitely got a lot more bang for buck and a lot more power than any other key programmer we've looked at so far. Interesting, but moving on. Scorpio Tango. And I just want to say a few things before we get going here. First of all, it's not truly a cloning machine, I get that. And we're talking about it as in the context of being a cloning machine, comparing it to other machines that do cloning, because it can actually do cloning. You can read and you can write that information back to the chip. Okay, it's not the same type of cloning machine. This type of machine has a lot more wider functions when it comes to chip generation and looking over the data and emulating to get the car going. But we're looking at it as a machine, and we're going over it to say, okay, well, if we're going to compare cloners to cloners, that's what we're going to do. So let's go over this one and see what we can come up with here. Now remember, if something's not correct or if you know better, no need to slaughter me. Just put it down in the comments, because there's a lot of different functions here and it's very hard to know all of them. Price wise, currently at the moment you're looking at about 13 to 17 US dollar, so it's quite an expensive machine. Easy to use, so I'm going to go no for that. There's no read button, there's no write button, there's no app. It's all done on the actual computer. Screen size, no screen whatsoever. On screen instructions, no screen. Does it clone all the standard chips? Yeah, it can. You can put it in there, you can read it, you can get the data from the chip, and then you can rewrite it back over to another chip. Doesn't do Mercedes. Does it communicate with other key programmers? No, it doesn't. It's just purely standalone. Does no, okay, now this bit people are going to get upset about, I can tell you. Does it do OBD key programming? This particular device you're looking at on screen, no, it doesn't. But the software that this device uses does. And that's what, you know, a lot of people are going to argue about. So the actual software, you can use the software. You'll have to plug in this machine to say, hey, I've got a machine, open up the software. Then you can plug in a simple COM port, a port to go into an OBD port with a USB onto your computer, and use the software to do things like resetting G-chip and other particular OBD tasks. But this actual green and black machine, no, it doesn't actually plug into a vehicle, or there's no cable that comes out of the back of this. It's all done via the software, so the software does, the machine doesn't. Does it use an app? No, it doesn't use an app on your phone. It uses software on a PC, so you have to open up the PC each and every time. Does it sniff data? Now this is another one people are probably going to argue about. Does it sniff data? We're talking as far as putting it near the ignition coil to get data for either a pin code or half of the code that's in the actual transponder itself, and no, it doesn't. Does it sniff data as far as an EEPROM dump? Yes, it does. Or does it sniff data as far as maybe some of the emulators? Yes, it does. But no, it doesn't actually sniff data itself. There might be some add-on tools which you could say do the sniffing of the data. Does it have the super chip? No, it doesn't. You might be able to use some of the super chips in these, but it doesn't have a Tango dedicated super chip or a multi-chip from Tango, or Scorpion as I believe they're called. Scorpion is the brand, Tango is the product. Does it use internet? No, the actual handheld device here doesn't need internet. But when you plug it into a computer, it's kind of a different story. That might need internet for some of those functions. I believe it does. I haven't done a lot of those ones. All right, let's go over a few more here. Does it have the option for online tasks? Yes, it does. Does it generate chips? Yes, it can. So you can put a chip in there and set it to a particular type of format you want. Car remotes? No, it doesn't do any of that. Garage remotes? No. Renewing remotes. Now, there's another one here that people are going to argue about. I'm saying no, it doesn't renew remotes. And you're going to say, but hang on, there's Tango, this and that, and that. There's a different version of this particular unit, which is a different color, which is used for that type of purpose. This particular one here is the green one, isn't. The other one is designed for remotes, to do remotes, so it's a different machine. So I'm going to say this particular machine, no, it doesn't. Access cards, no, it doesn't. Testing frequencies, no, it doesn't. Does it find the chip needed? No, you cannot put this up near an ignition coil in the car and it tells you, hey, you need a 4D or a 4C. It won't do that. Does the tool have any room to grow? Yes, it does, because it's computer-based software, and the actual reader of what it is, it's a bit more complex than just your simple technology like the more simpler ones we looked at, the CN900 and things. So there is a bit more, better coils and things inside of it. So I'll be saying yes, but it's debatable. Does the tool get updates? Yes, it does. Size and comfort. It's small, it's rugged. Look, you can drop it around. There's no screen on it. It's got a nice feel, rubbery feel, and a hard plastic case to it. So all in all, I give it small and rugged. This particular device, although we are looking at cloners, it does do that particular function, so we're comparing them all across the market. This tool, where it exceeds in, is basically that you can look at the actual file, all the codes and the numbers on screen, and you can manipulate them. You can also download a dump file, which is a file you get from the car's immobilizer computer system via a little computer chip. You can get that file on the computer and then send that back down to a transponder chip, which will then have the code back in the transponder chip to be able to start the car. So that's been kind of a short way round that a lot of people use a lot, and that's where this machine kind of benefits from. It's more of the say way of getting the car to work. Rather, it's you've got your OBD programmers which you plug into, and then you've got your more difficult cars which you actually have to read things or emulate a chip or use one key to enroll another key. That's what this type of machine is. It's not so much a OBD, it's not so much a cloner, it's more of a bit of in the middle, and it is a powerful tool and it is a good tool, don't get me wrong. As purely a cloning standalone on the bench machine, I would say no, it's not the machine of choice, and that's kind of what we're looking at now. We're looking at cloners, the way they clone and which one is which and which one is going to suit you. So when you see all these machines on the market, you can say, oh, that's for this or that's for that, oh, that one's not really going to suit my purpose. So whether or not you would call it a cloner or not, that's beside the point. We're going over all the tools so that people can identify what will suit them. I've saved the best for last. This is a fairly new tool made by Xhorse, a VVDI Key Tool Max, and it packs a lot of punch. You get a lot of value for money. Really nice tool. In fact, we went out, we bought one the other day to add to our wide collection of key cloning machines, and there's a few reasons, and I'll tell you why. Okay, price wise, $299 USD, very competitive, and this one has a screen. Not only a screen, it's like a tablet. So screen, easy to use, yes. Walk through, the app is actually built in, so you just walk through with everything that's on screen. Screen size, I think it's about 5" approximately. It's like a smartphone, like an Apple, so Apple iPhone. Big enough to see what you're doing, easy to swipe, and touch screen at that. On screen instructions, yes, it walks you through. It even has voice prompts, so it'll tell you what to do as well. You can turn that off as well if you don't like it. It comes with it does all the standard chips, so if you're looking for a tool that can do everything that can be done, this would be it. Mercedes, it doesn't do. It communicates with all the key machines. So what that means is that on one screen you can generate a chip, you swipe left, now you're actually communicating with the key cutting machine. It also has that software where you can actually look up the code, find bidding. Really good app where everything you would kind of need to the data, sending it to the machine, is all on that one kind of screen. So you go between the screens, left and right, and you go in between the different devices, which are all Xhorse, so very interactive. It does have built in the OBD programming software, as where some of the other machines, they might have done OBD, but you might need a different add-on or so. You do need an add-on as far as the dongle, which is a Bluetooth dongle, which is the OBD Mini, but we're talking about cloning devices, and this cloning device actually has that OBD software built into the machine. Okay, so that's not an extra you're going to pay later for, it's actually built into the machine. It does use an app. The actual app is on screen. It's not like you have to pair it up to your phone. It's there. It's ready to go. You got the screen. It does data sniffing as well, so you can put this tool right up to the ignition and it'll tell you, the secret code, or it'll tell you what part of the 46 chip, so you can generate a 46 chip or clone 46 chip. It can also tell you what type of transponder you might need to program into the car. Does it have a super chip? Yes, it does, and it's a very good super chip which has a wide range of transponder IDs so that it can be used on, and it's fairly cheap as well, so that's another good point. Does it use the internet on an ongoing basis? No. I can use this as a standalone machine for the majority of functions, but yet it might need internet for some of the more complex functions. Okay, yes, it can do online tasks. Once again, you hook it up, downloads and more complex functions as we spoke. Does it generate chips? Yes, it does. Generate car remotes? Yes, it does. That's where, as we said before, Xhorse VVDI really exceeds, just like KEYDIY. They are neck to neck. There's a huge range of remotes and cars that you can generate without needing to go buy an original OEM remote for, but just by using their remotes. And what's better, they're all reasonably priced. Does it generate garage remotes? Yes, it does. I don't know how handy that is. I don't use it a lot. It's not a product I sell to my customers, but I guess in different parts of the world, fixed code garage remotes might be something that would be really handy. Does it renew remotes? Now, I spoke about this with some of the other ones. Yes, from what I've seen, Xhorse has the 12 kit renewing remote jigs, where you put you open the remote, you put it in the jig, and then you use your tool and you say renew, and it unlocks it, and then you can reprogram it into the car again. So this is really handy if OEM remotes are super expensive, or if you're limited to what you can get, or if you can only get second-hand remotes, things along this line. It is another way to make a little bit more money rather than having to pay out a huge amount of money. Some people might be more happier with a second-hand remote at half the price than they will with a genuine one at full price, because sometimes the cars are getting old, and paying $200-300 for a genuine remote sometimes is out of people's budget. So when you say, look, it's only $50 from a wrecker for the remote, bring me the remote, I'll charge you this much, program it in, it gives you a way to make some money without losing the customer. If the bill's too expensive for the customer, you might lose them. If it's within their budget and you can do something to help them to achieve what they want to achieve, then you most likely get the job. So that's why the renewing of the remotes is a very handy feature, and if your tool does that, it's somewhere where you can make get more money from key cutting, key cloning, and key programming. Does it test frequencies? Yes, it does. Does it find the chip needed? We said that. Yes, it does. Does it have the room to grow? Yes, it does, because it's actually a little tablet or a smartphone, you could say, built on an Android platform. It has more memory, more processing power, and a bit of room there to move. So if something new was to come out which was more complex or needed more calculation power, it would have it. As with some of the other platforms we looked at, like the VVDI Key Tool Mini, I would say that would be only enough power to run it for what it needs to be. They wouldn't have thrown in an extra gigabyte or two, or an extra bit of processing power if they didn't need to, because they've designed that as a entry level type of machine where it's got enough power to do everything it needs to, but each part in that is expensive for them. So they've really given that tool away at a very cheap price to get you in on the market. There would be no extra bells or whistles or processing power, as with this one there would be. It's designed to supersede a lot of their other tools and be used into the future. That is why they've coupled it up with the Toyota H Immobilizer Reset Kit, which is a kit you can use to reset the Toyota H key, and that they've paired it up with this particular tool here. Originally I thought you could use the cheaper VVDI key tools to do it, but then that information I saw kind of dropped off, so that's unconfirmed. But I would understand them doing that with this type of machine, because it's going to be the one that we're going to be looking at for the next few years. Anything else just looks a little bit old and crappy. Does the tool get updates? Yes, it does. A little bit funky to get a few of the updates to work, but updating the tablet was easy. Updating the dongle, that took a little bit of work, and we actually uploaded a video on that too, so you can see that in one of our other videos if you have that problem. Size and comfort, look, it was a little bit big for my hand. Like, it fits in my hand, but I felt because of the size, I wasn't getting a real good grasp around it, so I felt, hold on, I hope I never drop it, because it's it's an expensive tool. Okay, so let's now go to the conclusion, and let's look at all the tools on a spreadsheet and see how they compete. I didn't do a conclusion when I've done a few of these videos before, and I thought we'll do a conclusion on here, and I've put them all on a spreadsheet. Now, the whole idea of this video is to try and identify which key cloning machine is suitable for you. Key cloners are just not simple key cloners now. They've got so many more functions. If you want a simple key cloner, go for the Keyline, go for the RW4. When they first came out, they were just simply key cloning machines, which had the ability to actually generate some chips along the line. So that's what they were. But now you can see for like $300 or $200 US, you can get a key cloning machine which has extra functions. Not only are they key cloning, they're also generating remote controls. So to be able to work out what machine would suit you, you have to ask yourself, what are you going to be doing with it? Are you a key cutter that stands behind a counter and just cuts keys over the counter? Or are you an automotive locksmith that goes out there and is on the job, need to generate the remote, need to generate the chip, need to clone the chip, need to read the data, need to plug in with OBD? There's so many variants to this. So as to answer the question, how do you spend your money on a key cloner, it's kind of tricky. It depends on your situation. Okay, let's start off at general key cutting. Now, if you're a general key cutter, I've spoken to a lot of people that use the Handy Baby, and they're quite happy with just the standard Handy Baby. That works quite well. I've used the CN 900 there, and that works quite well too. But I would really not go past the VVDI Key Mini or the KEYDIY Mark II. Like, I know they don't have the screen on them, but these are very powerful machines that do the same as this does, but the benefit is that you get to do the remotes as well. And the chips, they've got these super chips that come out, and plus you've got that app which is very interactive. So if you ever want to expand on that later on and include a key machine, especially with VVDI, expand and include a key machine, that too will be interactive. So those two, I would be saying, would be bottom of the line. If you're standing on a bench at a key shop and you want something simple just for cloning, you can go with the Silca, very reliable, a lot of literature, does what it's meant to do. Same with the Keyline, very reliable, a lot of literature, a little bit overpriced, and the extras are expensive. The multi-chips are very expensive. Look, I bought an RW4 and it was one of the worst investments I ever made, because I've used it 3 times and I've used my VVDI key tool hundreds of times. It just seems to do everything I need it to do. This machine is obsolete. The RW4 is obsolete, and I'm leading towards a Keyline 884 is kind of obsolete too, when you have some big players in the game such as VVDI and KEYDIY. and I look at the way that they've made machines. I did a video on the Silca Futura a year or two ago, and I said, it's a shame, for such an expensive machine that it's not compatible with other things and communicating with their other tools, and there's not one app linking them all together so I can go seamlessly between the tasks that I need to do. And the funny thing is that VVDI was actually working on that at the time, and that's exactly the same thing they were saying. We're going to build a machine that has this, that's going to talk to this. The programmers are going to talk to the key machine. The key machine is going to talk to the EEPROM programmer, and the programmer is going to talk to the remote controls it's going to generate. They made it all in one package. So that's why the RW4, you need to carry around a PC with you if you're a mobile locksmith to operate some of the functions. That's just not good enough. The 884, look, you can probably do it on their app and do it, but it's a bit clunky compared to the VVDI and KEYDIY platforms. The first tool here, the first one I showed you, the VVDI key tool, which is that black one, that early one, has been discontinued. I've still got one, I still use it, and I still find it fine. Price, coverage, size, rechargeable, loads of functions, it's all good. Only downside is discontinued. Apart from that, you get a lot of bang for your buck. Keyline 350, they've lowered the price on that. It used to be like $1,000. They've lowered the price on it. Look, unless you're standing at a key counter, I wouldn't say this is the tool for you. Okay, it's not designed for mobile vans. It's not designed to be pulled out of your pocket. It's not designed for that. It sits on a counter, has a 240 volt plug, you plug it in. Price is okay, instructions are good, quality is good. Yeah, the app, not as good. Remotes are limited and needs all the extra stuff. So, can it even do remotes? I haven't even tried that on that. Leave it down in the description. Can the Keyline 884 do remotes? Because what I've seen, it can do a couple, but they're really, really limited remotes. Nothing like the VVDI or KEYDIY. Handy baby. Now, yeah, as I said before, good little tool. Can even do the 8C, fits in your pocket, handheld, battery powered. There is that VW programming, which is a little bit special to this one, as that some of the other tools don't have that USB dongle. So that might be what sets this machine apart. And at $150, you can have two of these on the shelf. You're not really breaking the bank at this price. Remote range limited. CN 900, 150. Once again, this Toyota thing that it can do by OBD, that's really for the US market. I haven't seen it successfully in Australia. And if you plug in and you do the damage, it'd be like suffer the consequences. And I believe that's the wording they use on the literature that I've seen for that. Good little machine, does what it's meant to do. If you're just entering the market, you can certainly enter the market with that. Limited on what it can do, like remotes and things. No online, instructions are a bit limited. Bit of a Chinese machine, that one. KEYDIY tool, this tool and this tool, very hard to separate them. It's kind of like Ford and Holden. Which one do you like more? Or Mercedes and BMW, which one do you like more? Because they're the same caliber. I like the KEYDIY for a few reasons. I believe their range is bigger, but KEYDIY range is getting even larger. So these two, as far as the range of remotes and all, I don't know where they're up to at the moment. If somebody knows which one has the bigger range as far as remote generation and chip cloning, leave it down below, because I believe they're neck to neck. Very, very trivial, bad things I could say about it. Now the VVDI Key Tool Plus, I saw this, I liked it, I wanted it, and I was almost about to buy it, but we ended up going for the Key Tool Max, which is the smaller orange and black tablet. This one here is the big orange and black tablet, and look, the price is really out there. When you compare it, it's almost 10 times or 9 times the price of the tool we did buy. It is an all-in-one machine. It was designed to be all-in-one. If I was giving it to, let's say, an apprentice who didn't know much about car key cloning and all, I would give him this tool because it walks you through. The instructions are great. It's seamless between everything from sniffing the data to find out what you need, over to generating that data onto the transponder, and then being able to program that transponder into the car, and then taking the door lock out, finding the key code, putting that key code into this same tablet, and then having the machine being able to cut that key to code and communicating backwards and forwards from the machine to the tablet. It just sends everything across to it. So for those reasons, I believe it's a great tool in that respect. The price is out there, but that's what I feel lets it down. The size is big. If you drop it, you break the screen. It's going to be hard to store somewhere in your van when it's floating around. Look, it's a good machine. You could use this in the shop. You could use it in the van. There's a few little things that I did notice, and that's that it needs tokens. You got to buy tokens, and there's a lot of add-on things that I was looking into that seemed to have a lot of little costs associated with it afterwards. So you pay for that, and then you got to pay for this, then you got to pay for that. So that's what on the look that I looked into it, that's what stopped me from getting it, because the Key Tool Max didn't seem to have as much as that. Although it can't do as many functions, it didn't seem to have as much as that. That was the next step down, the Key Tool Max, which is the medium size, like phone size one. We looked at that and we were happy for the price, the size, everything was kind of similar. Interact between the machines, walk through prompts, voice announcements, everything was pretty good. So that's why for that bang for buck as a mobile locksmith, I would certainly have that in the back of my car. Not including that tool can also do the Toyota H reset, and most likely the G reset. So very powerful with that OBD mini accessory that goes with it. Now the Tango, you're probably going to say, why did you put the Tango in there? And I'll tell you why, because it can clone a key. And although it's not going to be the cloner of choice for anybody who's on a shop counter or anybody who's cloning a key on the road, it might be the machine of choice when you're doing more complex transponder generation or getting the code from a ECU. You might be writing that back to the transponder. So the whole idea is to identify in this video which cloning machine is right for you, and if you don't know much about them, you're going to go across and buy this and buy that and do what we all do, end up with a drawer full of tools that you're probably never going to use again. I mean, I've got a drawer full of them. I can tell you about them. One machine I bought because it cloned 46 chips, and now that's just obsolete because half of these machines do it. So the Tango is probably not one you're going to really want to buy unless you're a professional automotive locksmith, to be honest with you. The VVDI Key Tool Max is probably one that 90% of people would buy, be happy with, and upgrade later on to the OBD functions, or upgrade later on to add a key machine with it so it talks to that, or another tool that they come out with. So that's definitely one that's got room to grow, which you get a lot of bang for your buck at $2.99. Hey, if you got the money, buy the Key Tool Plus. If you're looking for a really cheap solution, KEYDIY or VVDI, handy baby, CN900, they're all good and they could all make money from cloning car keys. The two that I'd stay away from are the big boys, the quality brand names, mainly because these little tools are doing the job and they're really kicking goals, and for your investment, you just can't beat it. I just got to be fair about it. You can't beat the investment. The investment I put into my RW4, I can beat that. The CN900, at 150, the only thing I can beat it with is the VVDI key tool. So, I'm not losing much sleep over that, and I'm not losing much money, and it's still a tool I'll use from time to time. So anyway, that's my conclusion on all of these key cloning machines. Which one's right for you? You make that decision. Have a look over them. There's the specs on screen. You might ask different questions from what I've asked of these machines, and you might see something in the comments from a lot of the locksmiths and the automotive locksmiths who watch this channel. They might tell you something which will make all the difference to you and how you use it or what you use it on. If you like this video or you found any of the information useful, please hit the little bell button and hit the subscribe button, or leave a comment. All of that's good. We all appreciate seeing the comments, and we all appreciate when other locksmiths share their knowledge with other people who are either up and coming in the trade or just tackling a different section of the trade, because not everybody is qualified on automotive stuff and not everybody has done it. So that's why we do these type of videos, just to share the love around and give people a bit of an idea, and perhaps we might save you $1. I mean, we certainly spent a lot of money in the early days working out a lot of these machines and working out what machines work for us, and I've got some dinosaurs sitting on the shelf that will never be used again, which we paid top dollar at the time to achieve certain functions. So now you know what's what. Hopefully you can make an informed decision on the key cloner that suits you, and even for these $179, $129, you really can get into the market on a shoestring budget and make some good profit. I would, if I was under $1,000, first thing I'd start off with is the VVDI, and then I would buy the VVDI Dolphin, and for under $1,000 I can already cut keys to code, and I can already clone keys, and I could even have enough change to buy some of their universal remote controls in with that $1,000 budget. Just an example. Leave your comments down below. Thanks for watching.